Alright, I'm back. Yeah, another video. Hopefully the last one for a little while. Professor Anton, yeah, I really want to play this. I mean, it's not a great video of his. He doesn't say much, but it's just the way he says everything. And it's just so convoluted. And I just want to point that out. That this is no way to have a conversation that's got any kind of linear, functionality to it. It's just, this is the chaos that has the human race, bouncing off pointless, idiotic, stupid walls.
People, I don't know how quickly I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to try to respond to the video that Fred had mirrored up by Tranquil on suffering, evil, and futility. And I agree, all three of those are very serious problems, they're serious issues, and they call for a response.
Yeah, but that's not the point of his video, which was, these are things you recognize intellectually. You don't live with it, but you see it, if you think about it. And that's really the point here, is that you have to think about the truth. It's not going to just be something you're going to feel or something that's going to be part of real life. You can't make it part of real life. So when you're going to do the truth thing, it's different than, oh, I want to hear a good story, or I want it to be part of my adventure and my narrative. Because it's going to basically say something exactly the opposite, like, you're just a fucking idiot. Oops. That was interesting. Yeah.
Now, at the first pass, you might say, well, there's a problem in even trying to deal with those. Those aren't things in the world. It's not like we're scientifically addressing material objects that can be...
Yeah, well, whatever. Again, if you're going to argue that suffering isn't a real thing, then what's the point? I mean, these are real concepts. The real manifestations of reality. I mean, consciousness is real. If you're going to say consciousness is real, then suffering has got to be real. So it's just stupid to sit there and say because it's a syndrome or a function of, it's identifiable. And if that's not going to be a premise of the conversation, is recognizing what we personally experience, what our common phenomenon experience through consciousness, if that's not going to be a premise of conversation, then we might as well just talk Martian.
Isolated in a lab, weighed and done data measurement techniques over. I mean, suffering, evil, and futility they're very high level of abstractions, and in some way they introduce what Korzybski and the general semanticists would have called a kind of elementalism. That is, they allow us to think about these things in isolation or as separate from other.
Well, that's not even done anyway. So that's just part of how you're just bending it. You use a word like elementism, and then you use a word like abstraction to kind of make it a distinction. And there's no distinction. It's like every other thing you talk about. It's like judging the efficiency of your car, or the function of when it's the time to buy a new something or other. Refrigerator's getting old, time to replace it. These things aren't separate. They're part of the functionality, part of how you can describe what it is. Is it young? Is it old? Is it functional? Is it stupid? These are not words outside the boundaries of common use.
Things, as if they were, again, atomistically parceled off and separate from, in a self-standing way, from all other kinds of relations, and we don't know that.
That's, again, so no one's made that argument. So this is just complete straw man, that somehow somebody's separating suffering from its causes. No, we're doing exactly the opposite. We're explaining exactly why we have the phenomenon, why we have the capacity. We explain how through evolution it was a tool that made us better at climbing stupid mountains and beating off the stupid adversaries. That has no other... It exists for no other reason than it made us better consumers and cannibalizers.
Is how they're partly have hidden sides, backsides that imply their opposite, or they implicate the inverse of what they represent. Just
right there. So he wants to try to set up some sort of argument that suffering isn't necessarily bad, that it's good. I mean, just turn it around. Just turn the world upside down, okay? You're lucky if you get raped. Yeah, cancer, now it's a C word. It's like cunt. Yeah, cunts are good. So cancer must be good.
One simple example would be, I mean, we could talk about suffering, and is suffering some sort of fact? Yes, but you can't really get at suffering and say that it's one thing and then try to address art as if art is something totally independent of suffering.
So here we go again, another complete bizarre distraction. So take away the real substance of suffering, which has nothing to do with art. A guy in a nursing home is not performing art. It's not performance art. So it's a tiny little piece of some sort of human experience, is this idea that, oh yeah, you suffer a little bit, cut a few years off, have a stupid idiotic life, blow your brains out, and then your paintings are worth $40 million. Yeah, okay, but what does that have to do with a goddamn thing? Oh, that's right, it has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Some artists are dumb, fucking happy, silly people. It just doesn't mean it. This is a complete distraction, and the distraction itself is nonsense.
Art is one thing and suffering is something else. And look, we have words for them, and that makes them seem very separate. But in the sticky, gummy, pre-talked about, factual, ongoing event of reality, there's in many senses that we're carving out discrete distinctions where these are more related, and it's the kinds of...
So this is just more of the fog creation. Just keep trying to fog up the language, fog up the words, so now we can't tell the difference between fire and water. This is just nonsense, just a waste of time.
Suffering that humans have endured that have produced so much of the kinds of art that people enjoy, and the... And that would be
99.999999999999999% of suffering that's been endured has absolutely nothing to do with any kind of fucking art. There's no art performed by Abraham Lincoln's hole in his head. We could just go all the countless soldiers in the Civil War with their limbs blowed off. There's no art there. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's just suffering.
Just one example. We could go through all of these and to try to get at, how is futility itself already a kind of resonance with the yearning for meaning and the condition of meaningfulness being part of what we mean by futile and, or futile. And so I think some of this, it gets very problematic.
The word is very simple in its definition. It means that it is not fixable. It's beyond repair. It's... There's no going there. It's an effort that can't be accomplished, a mission that can't be accomplished, and there isn't you don't have the ingredients to cook the cake, so it's futile.
But at any rate, let's grant, just for the sake of argument, that we can take those three terms as if they were referring to something discrete enough for us to talk.
Well, look, they've been qualified as definition. Even in Fred's video, they were sort of qualified. I don't like the word evil, but he did qualify it based on my definition of it, which is volition. Volition makes a bad act evil, okay? Not that complicated. You know it's wrong, you do it anyway, that's fucking evil.
But even here, when Leibniz in this sort of tradition says, well, it's the best of all possible worlds, I think they were trying to get at what happens when we try to address some of these independently. The notion that all of the amount of suffering that we have right now is the best of all possible worlds.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, don't worry, be happy. What they were trying to get at with that don't worry, be happy is if you don't think and you just flush your brain down the toilet, you'll be happy. It's just a brilliant philosophical concept of non-philosophy. Stuporosity. Just enhance your stuporosity and your apoptosis will increase.
It's not to say that suffering is good. It's that given all of the balances and the harmonies...
All the balances and the harmonies. So now again, they're just said like they're presumptions. Like we already have agreed and assumed that there are balances and harmonies. The whole point is there is no balance or harmony. The whole point of the argument is that the fundamental ingredient of that, which is intelligent design or purposeful will, which would create balance and harmony, does not exist, and therefore this is the fundamental flaw in the system. There's no even capacity to create any balance or harmony. You have I don't want to be Yeah, look, you have the spilt milk on the floor. It's not art, okay? There's no balance. It just creates an imbalance, and now you have to clean it up, and you only clean up half of it, because that's all you can clean up, is half of it. And there's no accomplishment in that, there's no balance in that, and there's no harmony in that. All there is fail in that. If you're the one who spilt the fucking milk, and you did it on fucking purpose.
All of the things that had to be negotiated in order for life to emerge, this had to be included into the mix, or none of it could have emerged.
So that's just nonsense right there. Now he's saying that somehow it couldn't evolve without balance and harmony. No, those two ingredients were not there. The balance has to. There will always exist a circumstance, and you'll call, no matter what the circumstance is, balance, because Tyrannosaurus will eat this and that'll eat that. Well, of course that's what's going to happen, but it isn't a balance. It's just an inevitability that there will be a circumstance. There'll be a dominant player, there'll be a carnivore, and there'll be prey. Yeah, but that's not balance.
I think that's more the logic. At any rate, so we have these three things: suffering, evil, and futility. And you say, and I think that this is right, it calls for some kind of response. People need to be able to address why these are, what's the significance, or how do we give sufficient address to suffering, the problem of evil, and the potential for futility of all of this. I think on the one hand, I think we all see classic Christian or religious dogma gives robust response, and many people just cling to that. They will say that
it's not a robust response, it's an inane and silly response. We're going to give you rubies and diamonds, in special cloud city of which we will not describe, but it's kick-ass, trust me. And that's it. That's a robust response? I don't think so. The point is people will grasp at any response but the truth, which is, it sucks. So tell them anything, and they'll believe it, especially if it's impossible to disprove. Then they'll really like it.
There is suffering for X reason. They'll trace it back to whether it's original sin or something in biblical or religious texts that account for that. Same with the problem of evil. And they'll try to stave off the sense of the futility of life by constructing a kind of narrative that says humans are unfolding.
Yeah, why don't you just tell the truth? By just making some crap up. They'll just make up some crap, okay, to stave off the truth.
And there is a kind of cosmic plan, and things are unfolding according to the cosmic plan, that humans have been given this kind of free will, this experience of conscience, this experience of moral intention, because it is part of the plan to secure something like salvation and an afterlife and all this kind of stuff. And so I think they're trying to give an account.
Yeah, well, like I said, we've already accounted for most of that crap, okay? Our conscious experience is quite easily dissected and understood. We can see how the ego plays a role in creating the alpha, okay, which is important in the social networking organization of a society. Oh, that's kind of irritating. Be back soon. Be back. Yeah, I don't know where we left off, but let's continue.
That helps people give a response to those. On the other hand, I think antinatalists are very similarly trying to give a response. And I think when people have talked about it being a kind of crypto-religiosity, and to talk about it there, I think that's maybe partly what they were getting at. Now, maybe it was partly the degree to which people are...
I don't even know why you even say this stuff. That was part of what they were getting at, or who's getting at, or do you endorse that kind of crypto-religiosity? I mean, where is the crypto-religiosity? I haven't met one antinatalist yet who has any criticisms of the theory of evolution, of abiogenesis, who thinks there's UFOs, who thinks special powers or forces are, unicorns of the astrologizer. Where is this phantasmagorical mystery, crapola in the fog kind of thing? It's all pretty fucking explicit. We know what we are. We're stupid friggin' consuming machines. We're little DNA monsters set loose on the greenery. So where is this? Where is there any resemblance to a religion? Oh, God, it's so irritating.
Trying to secure rights for non-existing persons. I think that might.
I mean, again, and that one is just, this is almost getting infamous. This devoiding of the non-existent, as if we don't know they will exist. We know that the existent, how the existing become existent. I experienced it. I actually went through the process, of being born and being brought into existence. So this is just bullshit. We know exactly how it happens, and we know that it's going to continue to happen because it's been happening for 4 billion years. Our DNA molecule, in one form or another, pieces of it, bits of the code, however you want to look at it, we are the survivors of 4 billion years of evolution. So yeah, why would we think that 4 billion years is going to stop tomorrow for no reason whatsoever?
Be a real issue that whenever people try to secure rights for non-existing persons, it's like that's the position that is equally held by...
Right, that is the position of all these silly liberals trying to stop industry from genetically manipulating crops, or pouring their dioxin into the drinking water, or consuming all of the water from the groundwater, or doing all the other litany of unsustainable things you talk about. Why are you worried? Why do you even use the concept of an unsustainable? Why should that even be a concept in your vocabulary when you don't think tomorrow is going to exist?
The radical pro-lifers and the radical antinatalists.
Yeah, so again, try to smear us and slander us with association with people who are beating people over the head with Bibles and dogma, right? Because we dare to sit there and agree with them that tomorrow is going to exist. Is that your argument? Then it's a fucking idiotic one.
That somehow, if you're going to grant rights to the non-existing, then
it's rights to the will exist if you don't do anything. All right, it's all contingent. So say the contingently existing or the contingently non-existing. But they're an issue. It is an issue. Okay, you can't sit there and negate the responsibility for the things you initiate. I mean, it's just it's idiotic. It's like you saying I could turn my car on and walk away, and all of a sudden, because I walked away, it stopped eating gas, and it could just run and run and run, and it's not going to consume any gas. Well, that's nonsense.
Position would be the imposition of answering for them in either way. If you say, I'm going to answer for them, if you're going to give them rights, and then say you're going to answer for them and say that they don't have a right to exist, because it would be too much suffering and that you would impose suffering upon them, but you could also say, no, you don't get a right to deny them their own decision whether or not that suffering would have been what they would have risked, choosing.
Yeah, okay, well, that's already been articulated. It's all or nothing. That's right. It's right or it's wrong. It's left or it's right. It's one or the other. It's on or it's off. That's the only game there is in town, okay? You either impose on the people who don't want to be imposed upon, or you deny people who don't exist satisfaction of a desire they don't have. And the argument is pretty simple, that you can't hurt somebody who doesn't exist. You can hurt somebody who does exist. So that's the problem. We're trespassing on people who don't exist. We're denying people who don't exist their non-existent need to exist. Right? You're the one saying it's okay to make them exist and impose on the ones that do exist. I mean, it shouldn't. I know it's a little complicated, but there is a huge distinction between the will exist, the who will be here, and the who won'ts be here. Okay, and the who won'ts are a lot harder to hurt than the who wills.
Into that. At any rate, I do think it's interesting that the antinatalist also offers a ongoing response to these three issues, and I think the antinatalist position is roughly that suffering is it's something that has been inflicted upon humans by fluke, by a blind DNA that had no idea what it was doing, and given enough years, it evolved into a kind of sentience. And right now, people are being hijacked. They're on a kind of purposeless, futile ride of hardship, suffering, and loss, death in the end, and it's really to no point at all.
There you go. Yeah, very good. That's pretty much it. Yeah, you got it. Now let's see how you're going to mess it up.
The only reason that people think that life is worth living, or they have convinced themselves that it would have been better to live rather than not to have been, is because they have so much psychological commitment. Now they're rationalizing, right? And so
yeah, you got that part too, right? Exactly. That's exactly what you're doing. You're rationalizing. You're finding silly, preposterous reasons to contrive excuses for continuing to play a game that has no purpose, accomplishment, or substance. There's no dignity in it. There's nothing to be stoic about. There's no reason to stoically watch the game being played. Absolutely no reason.
The antinatalist position, I guess, tries to address the fact of suffering directly and tries to say evil is here and it's not to be dismissed. You're not going to get rid of it, all the cruelties and the injustices that other people do. And the futility is so driven home that some people want to say, look, the only reasonable thing to do, which would give some kind of purpose, would be to right now keep those people who have been not yet inflicted upon, not yet been encumbered with sentience, is to prevent that from even happening to them.
Yeah, exactly. To prevent people from being put vulnerable for no reason. Why make them vulnerable when there's no necessity to? It will accomplish nothing. It will serve no purpose. You'll just make them vulnerable. Why? Why open a door to vulnerability? Why? It's like, why rip a hole in your mosquito netting in the Congo? Why would you let the mosquitoes in? There's no friggin' point.
And this is a kind of response to that. What I have tried to say across my videos and my channel generally is that I'm not positioned in either of those cases or either of those camps. I don't find either of those to be the right response. I don't think that there is a cosmic plan unfolding as if there will be a life after death, as if there will be some sort of eternal judgment.
I assume he's saying the two camps, but he didn't really define the other camp. But I guess he's talking about the religious camp versus the antinatalist camp.
As if there will be some kind of recompense for all of the hardship and injustices that have been here in the world. I also don't think that, on the other side, that this is all futile, that I don't think that the suffering and that the evil in the world is without its own kind of purpose. And
there we go. Okay, so fine. That in itself is just a complete non sequitur, right? Evil has purpose. Well, it might have a purpose, but it's all evil purpose. Not any good purpose in there. It's nonsense. It's crap. It's waste. It's garbage. So now you just excuse the garbage by giving it the word, calling it purpose instead. So okay, just relabel your garbage cans. Just put purpose on it. There, problem solved. It's not garbage anymore. Okay, you don't like the toilet being a toilet? Don't call it toilet. Call it girly face. Yeah, just relabel everything. Relabel everything. Just give it a new name, and therefore you fixed it. Fuck.
Its own kind of integration into the world. Now, I'm not advocating it. I'm not saying, oh yes, let's all say that it's great to have suffering. I think that the question would be, and this is where I think the neo-Stoic position comes out.
Yeah, well, let's get to it.
That for the Stoics, they would say so many of the good insights, the psychological insights that have been appropriated by the religious dogma, those are registering a kind of orderliness in the cosmos.
Right, so just you don't believe in anything that creates order, you just accept the idea of order. So yeah, just do without the God, do without the intent, do without the whole idea of somebody actually going to fix this mess, and just accept the mess. But relabel it. but if you call it mess, you're not going to want to live in it. So just call it something else, and then you can all stoically admire just call it brilliant painting. So take a dump in the yard, put a little sign in it saying brilliant painting, and then you'll know it's a brilliant painting, and then you'll say, oh, it's wonderful, it's marvelous. It's just a turd, but oh, it's marvelous.
The cosmos itself has an order, and to me, the questions are not...
Yeah, it has an order. So it's the cosmosing again. Yeah, so whatever it wants to do, we should just let it do. We shouldn't apply our intelligence and draw a conclusion. Oh, no, don't apply intelligence to what the universe is doing. Just let the universe, damn it. It was here first.
About divine interventions or about life after death or any of that. The real religious questions are, could consciousness have not been, and does...
Oh, whatever. Again, you're going to go back through this crap of the fact that it is means that somehow it was meant to be. Or somehow it has function, and that it's meaningless. It's just meaningless. Of course, this universe, it happened. It couldn't have happened any other way because it happened this way. But it could happen another way if you could change something. If you could re-roll the dice, it could come out lots of different ways. But you can't do any of that shit. And it's completely irrelevant anyway. It doesn't deal with the fact that it's here. We're acknowledging it's here. The point is, should we perpetuate? Should we just stand around stoically, picking our noses while we just let it happen? God, I think the rational response is something better than that.
Sentience, in some way, fulfill and complete the universe itself.
There we go. So, okay, now we have the ultimate function. We are fulfilling and completing. We are completing the universe. It's going, oh, humanity, you complete me. That's what the universe is doing. It's having some sort of completion experience because human beings are watching American Idol and going, oh, God, that girl is so fucking not very talented.
Part of a new dimension that is the equivalent of, a line going to a surface going to a cube, is sentience a kind of dimensionality?
No, now we've made it to, all kind of physical and science-y, and, now it's a scientific theory that we're completing the universe. Even though there's absolutely nothing to base that on, just nothing. It's just complete made-up shit. But now it's very scientific because there's triangles and lines and they're intersecting. Yeah, hypotenuse.
That is fulfilling part of the universe's possibilities.
We're fulfilling the universe's possibilities, like we could possibly do something else but fulfill a possibility. I mean, how does something that's possible not fulfill a possibility when it's an actuality? Yeah, it's really impossible. And how does an impossibility even challenge the possibility to fulfill a possibility? I guess it can't, right? The impossible has no chance at all. God.
And I think you don't have to be anthropocentric, or you don't have to be anthropomorphizing and say, oh yes, sentience is this great thing that completes it. It's not like...
Well, that's what you just said.
It would have been incomplete, but there is another sense in which what we even mean by cosmos, what we mean by the orderliness, is such that it has understanding of itself in part of what it is.
It has understanding of itself in part of what it is. So by us contemplating our big toe, we have completed the rounding of the thoughting of the think-a-rinking, and can now, stick our thumb in and pull out a plum. Little Jack Horny. What the fuck is this shit?
A cosmos which would be complete unto itself, yet be uncomprehended. Well, I don't think that's what...
a cosmos that would be complete unto itself, yet uncomprehended. So, it would be like, so it would just be gorillas. And so the gorillas wouldn't be able to say the word universe, and so they wouldn't be able to complete that full sentence. And it's only by completing the full sentence The universe is now contemplating itself through my contemplation of it. Dun, 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 dun. Now the bells and the whistles all go off. The big sign pops down. You win! You win! You now completed the universe because it contemplated itself. You are the universe contemplating itself. Dun, 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 dun. And the little horns blow. Like the Christian heaven, I find it a kind of an empty experience, actually. It really isn't doing a damn thing for me.
We mean by complete. There is a kind of completion in the comprehending of the orderliness itself. I mean,
the orderliness of the blood gushing. I mean, come on, the orderliness of the way the head decapitates from the body as the mortar shell lands in proximity to the triangular nectar of the gravity of the substance of the bodily movement. I mean, what the? This is just such a crock of shit, Professor.
Orderliness is such that comprehending of it seems to be a vital part of it. Okay, so we go back to this issue.
All right, comprehending is a vital part of it. Again, so vital through what mechanism? Vital through what feeling mechanism did the universe have any kind of experience? How can something be vital to the universe when the universe has no capacity to want or need? Oh, we'll just ignore that part.
Of suffering, evil, and futility. I think the Stoic response is that, yeah, there is an orderliness, and that suffering allows, and this comes out of Seneca's work, that it allows for a kind of dignity for the person who's able to bring meaning to the suffering.
Oh, what? You know, again, meaning to the suffering. So you watch your little 5-year-old child slowly waste away and die from whatever, cystic fibrosis. And you just take away this wonderful, meaningful feeling. Or you could be like that Japanese woman, you know, who walked out her door when the tsunami came and it just pulled her little daughter right out of her hand. Just whoosh. She's gone. And then she finds her 15 minutes later all smashed and crushed and drowned. And yeah, and she got all, oh, I'm going to contemplate that and give the universe meaning. La 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 la. You really should do it like the Teletubby. You could have a little laughing baby up here. Porch.
It would be where art and courageous action for social benefit.
Oh, again, courageous action for social benefit. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, like we haven't tried that. The 60s were so good. Everything went so well. It just fixed it all. We all had a Coke and sang a song. And then we had Indians on TV and they cried about the litter. And that cured all of our troubles and everything went so well from then on. Oh, no, it didn't go too well, did it?
Courageous action that helps minimize social injustice, that helps to alleviate.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, we're certainly heading in that direction. We're just so full of social justice now. We just invade other countries and steal their money. But whatever. I mean, this is just mush. This is just gobbledygook. So again, you've just ignored the entire subject of the futility, and now we're just pretending that we're accomplishing something. And all we have to do is get, you know, we got to just find a dress code. We get a proper dress code, and everything will be okay. And maybe we get some street sweepers and something, and yeah, everything will be fine. Brr arf.
Other kinds of suffering that when you encumber suffering on yourself to lessen the total suffering around you, it brings a kind of meaning to your life. Now,
right, it satisfies your ego because you can say, well, at least I'm not as big a scumbag as him. That's all it is. You know, you're just a little better than the other asshole. So you feel good about yourself because you're not as big a pig and glutton and hog as the other guy. And that's really not a good enough standard, is it? I'm better than Adolf Hitler. La 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 la.
That would be the kind of insight that the Stoic philosophy that I'm after is trying to get at. That is, are there certain psychological facts about our being, about, I guess, about giving being important, about it has a lot to do with moral intention. Maybe we should talk about moral intention.
Yeah. But what? Giving how? Giving what? You know? I mean, are you going to give people their UN fish, or are you going to teach them how to fish? Is it where are we? And the whole game is you know how you win this fishy game? You win it by not having kids. That's how you win. Yeah. So why don't we just work on that one
for a second? You know, moral intention somehow evolved. I think that the experience of intentionality evolved in nature, you know, with us. Is intentionality to be found throughout other organisms? I think, again, as you move up higher, you move into primates, they do seem to have some pretty wily-like behavior. They exhibit something like deception and prevarication, abilities to deceive others.
Oh, you mean they have ability to scheme? That's right. That's what brains are for. Scheming. They're scheming tools. But you know that scheming tool can be used to scheme the truth. When that's your mission, is to scheme your way to the truth, and then you can find the truth. But you're not doing that. You're scheming a way out of the truth.
I mean, I guess the general point, though, is that I think somehow in nature, the evolution of the experience of intention and moral intention, of deciding what one wants to do or what one should do, and the experience of feeling as if one has a choice, and being able to think about one's actions before one's actually engaged in those actions. All of those kinds of experiences that...
Yeah, all that crap doesn't add up to anything. You know, we have an attraction and repulsion mechanism. It's just about getting more of what we want and less of what we don't want. You know, the more sophisticated palate wants for peace and quiet and lack of chaos, and the unsophisticated thrives on noise and nonsense and smelly shit.
You know, it took all kinds of development in brain and neurostructure and memory capacities, but our ability to do that, I think this is partly that order that the religions have capitalized on, but it's the order that we should turn to for what to do in life. So you say, you know,
why? Why should we turn to any of this crap? I mean, again, you're presuming that you haven't drawn the conclusion. So again, you're denying the conclusion. So the intelligence draws the conclusion. Oh, I see. It's tic-tac-toe. It's a pretty simple game. You fuck over this guy, take what he's got, then you got stuff. It's a silly competition. I got an ego. He's got an ego. We're just competing for this silly ego championship. I mean, it's all trivial and stupid. And so somehow recognizing the triviality and the stupidity, you're telling me the rational response to that is to just play along. No.
Is there are there meaning horizons that can be...
Yeah, the meaning horizon is to prevent more suffering than you cause. And to do that with, you know, to some magnitude, if possible, like through multiplication. So yeah, prevent 1 today and you prevent 10 tomorrow. So yeah, that kind of math is appealing. So that's where you can find a mission.
I guess found for people without the religious dogma, but who don't want to say, look, life is just futile. I mean, I don't think that...
Who don't want to say it. Well, okay, then again, that's the whole problem here. You don't want to say it. Well, I don't know what to say to you. It's the truth. So you don't want to look at the truth. You want to find some other mission than to serve that truth. Well, I'm going to argue that whatever mission you find, you're likely not going to be productive then, because the truth is going to dictate the limits and the boundaries of what's productive. So yeah, go ahead, keep feeding the poor so they can have more babies, so you have to feed more people tomorrow. So keep feeding the problem. Don't cure anything, just keep treating the disease and pretending you're doing yourself a favor. It's almost like keep taking the penicillin until you destroy its effectiveness.
You have to decide between those. I think that's part of the error. There can be, simplest case would be striving to accept the suffering, and to, I guess.
For what purpose? So again, that's just a way of denying the truth again. So again, you're just saying, you're not trying to tell people how to live when they don't believe things are futile. You're trying to tell the people who understand it to be futile, and you're just saying, no, just pretend it's not futile and accept it. And that way it's so much easier. Well, yeah, it's easier, but it's not right.
Honestly, but to realize that one is part of an order that is so much larger than and vaster than what one could do. I mean, I think this is partly how you get into the kind of Alcoholics Anonymous stuff, where people start...
Oh, yeah, again, so we can't fix anything, we can't do anything, nobody can do anything. Again, so if somebody took Martin Luther King when he was a kid to an AA meeting, you know, they could have just destroyed the whole civil rights movement, right? Just take all the balls right out of it and just tell everybody, no, you're futile. So you won't say that life is futile, but you will say individual effort is futile. You will say individual ambition is futile. So that's the irony here, is you've taken the futility out of the game itself, and you've now imposed the futility on the players. So just accept being a pawn. Don't argue about it. Don't complain about it. Don't fight not to be one. Just be one, asshole, because you're futile. Fighting is futile. Doing anything is futile. Just be a fucking pawn, cunt. I mean, what the fuck is that? No. Okay, like Martin Luther King, I'm going to say fuck you to that bullshit. Okay, and I'm going to fight the fucking man. And the man in this case are the people defending the machine, defending the fucking game.
Grant that the world is so much bigger than them, and that they need to resign themselves to kind of accepting that there are some things that they can't change.
Yeah, that would have been just great. Yeah, well, everybody should have done that in the 60s with Vietnam. Everybody should just sit back and say, well, we can't change anything. You can make so many arguments. The mothers against drunk driver. They should have just stoically sat back and watched children die on the highway and just said, well, it's just the way it is. Let's certainly not pass a law against drunk driving. That would be silly.
I think I would be, and again, going back to this question of why do people say that it's futile to try to move people toward antinatalism? See, I've heard some people say, like, that's the reservation that some people have against antinatalism. The reservation is that that it's just impractical, that it just can't be done. And I think that's maybe partly right, but it's more like, why don't we move toward what is it that makes it impractical is that it seems like you're more likely to persuade people to act peacefully. You're more likely to persuade people to...
Yeah, well, that's your argument. I'm going to say no. It's just so much easier just to explain to people they're assholes. People can understand them being assholes. They're never going to not be assholes. So if they accept that they're assholes, then they accept, okay, let's quit making assholes. No point in it. So to me, it's not that hard an argument. I think most of the world gets it, to tell you the truth. Most people don't have more than 2 kids. So most people are already antinatalist. So yeah, let's just keep working at it. Keep talking the talk. Forcing the conversation. And as religion dies, and as atheism 1 dies and gets replaced by atheism 2, the real deal, yeah, it's going to become more and more obvious. The game is the problem. The players aren't the problem. The game is the problem. The game is stupid.
Be very careful about unexpected pregnancies. To be very careful about unplanned sexual encounters, all this kind of stuff. That seems like a much better strategy than to try to tell people what you really want to do is...
Well, again, you're arguing strategy now. What's the problem telling people that? And what's the different things work on different people. To tell you the truth, sometimes all that little nippity-dippity talk doesn't get anywhere. And what you have to say is, if you get pregnant, you're a fucking cunt. You're a fucking ignorant, reckless, malicious, dangerous bitch. I mean, sometimes you got to get in people's faces and let them know that, they're being so stupid it makes you want to puke in their face. Sometimes they need to hear that for them to get it.
Avoid all responsibility. See, I think what somebody wants to say is, no, it's the ultimate responsibility. I don't know that it is. I think the antinatalist is denying the truth of what this truth is. That is, from the antinatalist position, to end sentience is to end awareness of this truth.
Well, so what? Again, the truth doesn't need to be known. The game, we don't need to leave somebody behind to say, boy, that game was stupid. That sure was a stupid game, wasn't it? Yes, we need to talk forever and ever about how stupid the game was. No, we don't need to leave somebody behind to talk about how dumb the game was.
And to that extent, you would really never know if evolution would have evolved beyond this. So let's just...
Well, again, that you would have never known if it was really just a matrix and blah, 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 or you would have never known that it was a test from, Beelzebub, the devil god. You would have never known whether, I don't know, what Ricky the Magic Monkey was going to find his, bowl of fun. I mean, who cares?
Say we're here on this planet, and the antinatalists are successful, okay? And it ends. But what if there are on other planets, again, life...
Yeah, what if? Well, number one, we can't get to them. Physics are impossible. Not just no, the physics are impossible. Not a goddamn thing to do. What are we going to do? So send them a bullet to go shoot themselves with? Well, we got nothing for them. We got nothing for them. Nothing.
It is similar to ours right now, but it, like ours, is evolving, and people are evolving too.
Well, that would be one hell of a coincidence that in a whole frickin' billions of years old universe that they both got to the same place at the same exact time. That would be ludicrous. So they're either a few million years behind or they're a few million years ahead. And I'm going to argue that nobody ever gets a few million years ahead. They never get past nuclear bombs. They never get past, in 50 years we might figure out something that just might be able to cause chain reactions in matter through a lot of different ways. And that people could, by just mixing the right crap in a pot, black hole the whole fucking goddamn galaxy. I mean, the physics permit that kind of bullshit. Where you just throw a match on a planet and the whole thing blows the fuck up because it's made out of dynamite. I mean, there's that kind of shit in this reality. So we're not going to survive it. So all this is just a fallacy that you're going to go somewhere or that there's something to do. All you got is this bucket of shit in this piece of the shitiverse. And so just clean up our shit, and that's all we can do.
A self-understanding of the problem of what happens in nature as parts of nature become autonomous and capable of experiencing self-legislation. So I think as soon as we...
Yeah, whatever. So again, this is just this bizarre theory. You might as well just make up a God theory, because you're just making this shit up. Oh, there's a universe full of aliens negotiating all kinds of thought process and exchanging brownie recipes and whatnot. No, it's not happening.
Start to move toward, is the evolution of sentience something that, for lack of a better word, is...
Look, we're not evolving anymore. The only thing evolving, it's not our sentience that's evolving. The only thing evolving is our knowledge. Alright? That's the only thing still growing or changing or becoming better or more refined is our understanding. Okay? Our biology is frozen. We're not in natural selection anymore. We're not in human selection. We're not being selected anymore. So there's no more evolution of our functionality as a sentience.
Is culminating, is fulfilling or perfecting the nature of the world. I mean, if time's arrow...
Yeah, all we're doing is perfecting, cleaning the knowledge base. We're getting the voodoo and the rubbish out, and we're putting in the truth. And the truth is ugly. Jesus, is it ugly.
Goes in one direction, and everything is in fact moving toward disorder, then it does seem kind of odd that...
Oh, look, people have already done this whole physics thing. You can't use that nonsense. It's a closed system, all right? So we're not moving towards disorder on the surface of the planet of the Earth yet. Okay, we got a few billion years before our matter is going to be affected by those laws of physics.
The species that we call human is so much, quotes, more intelligent than species millions of years earlier. See, it doesn't seem like life itself is entropic. It seems like life is a kind of negentropy around the physical world that is...
Yeah, well, duh. All right, that argument's already been made. That's right. But the only thing that's changing is the toolkit in nature. And eventually we got a toolkit that gave us this knowledge-based thing, this capacity of the vocabulary thing, and that let loose the intelligence thing, because we can now gain knowledge because we could write it down on paper and keep it in books, and we could improve it over time, and that's all we've done, okay? And that's it. There's no special here anywhere. We've taken it outside of the bounds of natural selection in a DNA molecule, and now intelligence is the evolving force. But it has nowhere to go. The only thing intelligence has to do is serve the stupid monkey.
Kind of disorderliness. Well, I don't know. I guess that was all over. Too many things to talk about. Hope some of that is helpful for people. I really am. I encourage people to keep up the arguments. I personally, though, I would just as soon gracefully bow out. I've said all that I have to say. I just don't have any more meaningful contributions to it. Okay, thanks.
Whatever that means. Like I said, it's the meaning of life subject. Whether or not life is stupid and futile and idiotic, okay, bail out on that. Fine. Go talk about mushrooms or, whatever. Dirty feet. Or, I don't know. Whatever. Hair bands. Your favorite hair band for tying back your hair. What do you talk about that? I'm sure everybody's going to be incredibly interested. So whatever. Yeah, go ahead. Talk about something else. I'll be glad not to listen. Thank you very much. Till next time.